All right. Let's get this new little instrumental countdown out of the way, because, well, that wasn't too terribly interesting as much as I thought it would be. Welcome to this week's show. I'm your host, Chris Gogolin, episode number 47 coming at you. Thank you for joining us. Let's talk about some Star Wars stuff. So, doesn't look like there's much going on in the old GEMP lobby right now. So, we will talk about some other things that are going on. Um, I do, of course, want to mention the donation tier system is still open. Still plenty of time to donate to the Players Committee. Different levels and tiers of volunteerism, of donation to help support the Players Committee. If you see here, tier 3, $50 foil version of an exclusive AI donor card. I showed this off last week, but we will do it again. Rogue One is the AI this year. This is what you could get for your $50 donation, along with all the other stuff that comes along with it. But yeah, it's the Rogue One alternate image foil, and you still have time to get those donations in. If you are attending the Match Play Championship coming up here in 10 days, 9 days, well, 10 days, you could get the foil card. I'll have them with me at the event to hand out to everyone live. If you don't have them available there, we will certainly mail it to you. And as long as we are, what? Actually, I'm going to save that one for later. We're going to mix these up a little bit and blend these in. So there's all the different stuff for the donor tiers. It's all on the Players Committee forum, including the link. It is under announcements, and then there's a whole donation tier system that you can read about there. Oh, no sound. Oh, okay. Looks like you're all good now. Excellent. Just rebooting my laptop, so I'm kind of looking at it on the phone. Of course, it decided to do system updates like 5 minutes before I was starting, and it wasn't one of those quick updates. But I did mention the Match Play Championship. That is coming up here in 10 days. We will be live streaming all the events, featured matches each round on Twitch, much like we're doing right now. So be sure to, if you can't be in attendance, be sure to at least check in on the stream. 2000 World Champion Matt Sokol will be doing the commentary. I believe he'll be joined by Aaron Kingery for at least some of it. And I'm sure as players get eliminated from the tournaments throughout the day, they'll be popping by to chat with Matt and throw in a little support into the commentary. But all the information about that can still be found here. We did make a change to the format for Saturday's consolation event. It is no longer a second bracket. It was basically going to be a bracket with 18 people because of the way the buys worked out in the first round of the MPC. So people voted, and there was a poll up, and it was pretty overwhelming, 20-3 in favor of switching it to a 6-game Swiss event. And so it'll be the 18 players who lose in the first round will start, and by the time they're done with Game 2, before Game 3 starts, Round 2 of the MPC bracket should be done. So there should be 16 more people who were eliminated from the tournament. They'll get dropped in to the Swiss event. No, okay, so we don't need to do a poll for first round future match. I'm pretty sure it's you and Scott. So come prepared, because I can't think of any other game that just has all of those compelling elements as Queso versus the Advocate. So I think that's what that's going to be. Oh, I don't want any of this. No, I don't want to run all these scans. Okay. Unless somebody has a compelling argument against that, Queso versus Advocate round 1 featured match seems like it's going to be your most likely for that. We'll talk about that a little more in a second. We'll go through the bracket. But the other thing too is that players from round 2 will also get added in, so it'll end up being about a 34-person tournament if everybody who gets eliminated in round 1 and 2 opts to play. You are allowed to change decks beforehand. You will have to submit a new deck list if you do. So have those prepared. We'll have blank ones available for you to fill out by hand. But if you know, like, hey, this is my backup deck, print out your deck list from GEMP and just bring it with you, or have it available to email um, to the tournament box. So that way, we can keep things moving along. We are still going to cut to a top four. So after the 6 games of Swiss are played on Saturday, we will still cut top four. We'll still move on and play match play on Sunday, just like they would have if they were in the consolation bracket. So that way, because we already have the trophies and everything, so we will preserve some aspect of the bracket format for that. And just give me 1 second here while I get Twitch up on my laptop. It's easier for me to see than trying to look at it on my phone. Plus, my phone is also low on battery power. Um, so let's take a quick peek over at the bracket. The bracket prediction contest is still up. You do still have a little bit of time to get that in. If you go to, where is it? MPC bracket right here, then you can click this little bracket maker thing. It'll take you to this link, which brings you to the bracket. And then you can see all the different matchups. Looking at round one, the most competitive games will be these 8, 9, 7, 10 games. And I think Scott, Jerry seems like the most compelling matchup. I mean, there's a couple people in chat. Can you honestly, do you guys think there's a better game out there that we could stream other than this one? I mean, Taco and Sean probably be a pretty good game too. Certainly be an interesting matchup, but maybe Josh Mack, Justin. But I feel like just personality-wise, Scott and Jerry kind of seals that deal. So I think this will be your round one featured match, with the winner moving on to advance to play against Tom Kelly. I think there's also looking at, not that many people would do this anyway, but there's like 0% chance in my mind anyway that Tom would actually watch the stream to find out what his opponents were using. You'd like to believe that nobody would really do that at all throughout the event, but Tom doesn't even watch his own stream when he's streaming his own games live because he doesn't want anybody influencing his thought process. So I can't imagine that Tom would actually watch this Scott Jerry game. So that'll probably be your matchup. But if you go to the bracket, there's this little thing here that says predict it, where you can click that and then you can fill in your predictions, and then you create your own prediction, and then the winner of the prediction contest will get something cool. I think it's going to be possibly it'll possibly be some AI tournament foil, OCS foils or stuff like that. The other possibility is it may be an autographed card. I do have a few extra of these old Shannon Baxa signed Mara Jade cards lying around, or possibly maybe a Jeremy Bullock signed Lieutenant Shekel. Since they CGI'd him out as no longer being Boba Fett and Lucas bastards, we still have Shekel as a Jeremy Bullock feature. But you can go ahead and predict that here. We'll take a quick peek at predictions that people have submitted so far, but I would be shocked if people are predicting, looking at the 4-1 seeds, those are 4 great players. So unless you're picking yourself to win, I think it's very unlikely that anybody else other than one of these 4-1 seeds is going to be predicted to win. That's just my hunch. Let's take a quick peek at the leaderboard. And 1 seeds. Yeah, Reed, Tom. Those seem to make the most sense. Reed's won the tournament twice. Tom has won the tournament twice. So those seems like solid predictions. Obviously, who they whoever else makes it through will probably be the difference makers. Otherwise, everybody's going to end up with the same point totals. It looks like we've got 17 people have filled out their bracket so far. Werf's picked himself. Got to have confidence in yourself, right, and do that. Um, and there are all those predictions there, but he's the only person there. I hedged my bets when I did my bracket. I picked Salucci to beat me in the finals. So I have confidence in myself to get to the finals, but I'm hedging my bets and I'm picking Salucci to win. So if I'm wrong in my bracket, well, then hopefully that means that I won the tournament. And if I'm right in my bracket and I picked Steve, well, luckily I picked a guy that not as many people picked to win, so therefore I might win the contest then too. So I feel like that was a good strategy for me. I'm sharing that all with you, and you can all copy that if you like. But there you can see all the predictions, so it's not like it's really a secret. You can look at anybody's predictions and see what's going on. But yeah, I certainly think we're going to see some great games um, throughout the day, and looking forward. Eric Hunter can be a bracket buster. Who knows? How sharp Eric's going to be and what's going on there. Plenty of other people. Mike Turner's been playing really well. Jared Napolitano's been playing pretty well lately. Charlie's been playing really well. So we could easily see some upsets along the way. So there's the prediction contest, and like I said, we got some interesting stuff to give away for that. But it doesn't look like there is not a whole lot going on in the old GEMP lobby. So I am going to look at this game that was sent to me this morning. Ironically enough, both players sent me the game link. Um, this was a game that took place. It was an OCS match between Zlorfik and Thekillerkiwi. That was a nail biter of a game, and the player who won sent it to me saying, "Hey, I think this would be really great for your show." It was a really close game, really back and forth. And the player who lost sent it to me saying, "I was so close, to winning this game. What one little thing could I probably have done differently that might have pushed it over the edge and gotten me the win?" So I think that was really cool that both of them were kind of interested in giving me good content for the show and it being a competitive game. And that's what the whole series kind of started for originally was trying to find those little things that people could do just a little bit differently that might turn losses into wins. Um, when I started the series 47 episodes ago, that's kind of what we focused on was taking those tiny little in-game issues and corrections and things that you could do just a little bit differently that might just make the little bit of difference and turn a loss by less than 5 into a win by less than 5. And those are the games that you need to win if you want to win tournaments. Uh, Queso, I do apologize for breaking your bracket in the GEM PC. Uh, Unfortunately, between trying to get everything ready for the real life MPC, I didn't have a whole lot of free time coming up the last week or two, and Charlie had a whole bunch of other stuff, so we were on completely opposite schedules. Unless I wanted to play our game at like starting at like 11:30 p.m. on a weeknight, that really wasn't gonna happen. And I have a regular 9 to 5 work job, so starting an OCS game or a GEMP game at 11:30 at night means I'm playing till like 1 o'clock in the morning. Um, wasn't gonna go too well with real life work, so I opted to just bow out of the tournament and focus more on some other things. I may not get my 12 OCS games in this month, which is disappointing. I think I've only played 5 so far, and we're over halfway through the month. I might just have to just throw up some quick games and just take some wild swings and try and you know get some quick beatdowns in and end games early just to keep them moving and get them going along. But our feature game this week is that dreaded map deck against that dreaded Old Allies deck. Uh, just like in the movies, it's those two decks that You're welcome. I have faith in you, Queso. I also think you've played more games of Star Wars in the last 7 months than Scott probably has. So I felt like that was a good uh, determining factor. So, old allies. Not really looking like it's starting much different. Old allies, Walkling, Strike Planning, a Brave Resistance. Probably no surprises there. Most old allies decks are within 5 cards of each other. There's just a couple of usual, are there 2 copies of this character? 2 Finn, 2 Poe, one, how many, 3 rows? Like little variations there, and variations in the interrupts a little bit. But it's 50 of the same cards, 55 of the same cards, um, and then slight little variations there. Map, we see a little bit more flexibility with, whether it's depending on the third effect of the extra effect for starting, will kind of dictate that. Here we're going, you'll be dead. That tells me blasters. So we'll get some blaster ping and stormtrooper blasters. Sometimes you'll see alert, and then they're probably running at least one extra star destroyer, if not two. To match up for that, probably Thrawn and Chimera, in addition to the Finalizer. Um, and I feel like sometimes there's a third effect, but a different effect people use too. But I think those are the 2 most common, are You'll Be Dead and Alert My Star Destroyer. This will be the You'll Be Dead version. We are watching from Thekillerkiwi's point of view. He is the dark side player and got a pretty decent start here. He got Kylo, um, so if he's got another one in his deck, that'll be good to get the one out of his deck when he goes for the shuttle pull. He may not necessarily even need the shuttle pull and might view it as a liability and might just go Kylo straight to the ground, um, which is certainly an easier way to go as well. He got the close call. We see the force push too, and double sniper dark strikes here could certainly clear up some stuff in the control phase, whether he's firing lightsabers or blasters. Crush for clash protection. Yeah, that is certainly a concern in certain matchups, especially, Kylo shuttle, and then Kylo gets off, and then you clash Kylo and beat the crap out of the shuttle. Yeah, that's why people don't like playing the shuttle as much. So it looks like we get a look there. It looks like he just has Finalizer shuttle and a couple blasters. So a little bit lighter on the old Space Force. He's going to put 2 cards back to get Jakku. I don't agree with that. Um, Converting their system is good to cut them down in force activation and whatnot, but you just need to occupy this site with a first order character, and you could, I mean, yeah, it's in his force pile. If you really wanted to do it turn 1, maybe he's. I feel like that if that's your once per game force push is just to swap systems to deny them one force icon on turn 1. Um, I don't know. To me, that feels like you've just wasted your once per game pull with that. Not having it not having it in the reserve deck to do just like drop Mataka and then pull it and convert it right away means you do it turn 2, because if it's in your force pile now, either you're going to draw it or you're going to move it. You could also run the risk of just deploying Kylo and using your bow used pile search and take it into hand, and getting it that way. Um, that already feels like we're starting off on the wrong foot. It feels like there were better options in there, or better times later in the game to use this force push than turn 1 dumping 2 cards to convert the system. Yeah, exactly, Ryan. That's what I was just thinking. Yeah, you can use. I mean, you're going to spend 5. You had 8, so that's 62.5% chance that you're going to spend it with Kylo to get it. I mean, you could also deploy somebody else too, but um, not that you needed to. But so, and I don't know that cutting them one force does a whole lot. They can still Lando, and he's just going to draw. Uh, yeah, you can still Lando Ray take off instead of it being a 4 strain 1. I mean, you're still going to have the resistance ship there. It's not like they're just going to tandem and load it up with a bunch of guys. The Falcon's probably still going to be up there. So I don't know that move there. That might be the thing that kind of just skews everything up a little bit. He'll get all right. So we see Bastion get Leia and Lando, General Calrissian, pretty consistently what they usually pull. Um, Brave Resistance. He's going to send Rose back to get Poe. Poe being one of the two most likely characters. He's going to get Rogue One. Okay. And he's going to drop Poe. Radis is going to get bumped from a pilot to a passenger. Yep. All right, so we're going to go Lando Poe. Immune to less than 5, draws 2 battle destiny. You can still deploy Finn as a react to where Poe is for free. Doesn't even pull Rey. Rose was the agent, by the way. The Resistance agent was Rose. In case you're keeping score at home or wondering who you pick in this matchup. Obviously, you want to pick a character you know is going to be on the ground for most of the game because you have to be present at a site, and being in a vehicle does not count. You can get out, flip it, and then if they don't control to, you just get back in. But still not great. So, but that's good power. 9 power. 2 battle destiny. You've got Radis on there for some extra forfeit. He does activate. He did save a few. 15. Finalizer's what, 9? Yeah, but not immune to much. It's immune to less than 5. He would need somebody else. Like even if you wanted to go Finalizer Thrawn here for 13 in battle, which he could, he's getting 2. They're getting 2. There's a possibility they have Punch It. It's another card that's commonly played in Old Allies, which makes the Falcon completely immune to attrition, in which case you die and they don't. Um, so I would expect to see him more likely to go ground here, especially the way his deck is built with the blasters and things like that. More interested in going to ground locations. Put the sight out for some extra force activation and take a peek at what's in there. Bunch of troopers. Got to find a way to spend some force. And it's going to be Mataka, who costs 0. And there's 5 for Kylo. He'll get a use pile search. There's a barrier in there. That seems like a good one to get, and he does. You don't need a blaster. You've got that. Mataka's already on the table, so you don't need that. Blast points would be the only other thing worth taking. And that would come down to whether you wanted to play offensively or defensively. Blast points adds a destiny when if your trooper fires a gun. Barrier, in this case, prevents them from battling you as easily. So I like this approach better. I would have taken the barrier as well, especially because you have Phasma in hand as well. So you're going to get a second pull, and I would expect to see Phasma possibly coming to the ground as well. And I'll get a bow pull from Phasma. So the shuttle's in there, the command's in there, which is interesting. Snoke is in there as well. I would grab Snoke because Snoke keeps the chain going. He also gets you a used pile search. He's one of the 4 characters on there. It's Hux, Phasma, Kylo, and Snoke. So if you take Snoke, if you wanted one of these other cards badly enough, you just take Snoke and then spend the force and deploy Snoke and then take one of the other cards. Or you just take Snoke and save him till next turn, so that way you can get something better that was in your reserve deck, like Captain Peavy or General Hux, who are still floating around in there. Snoke could get you them next turn when you activate them and then spend them. So I would grab Snoke here. He takes the command. You can use the command to get Hux, who then cycles through a little bit more. Or you can also, obviously he's going to need the command in space when there is a battle here with Thrawn Finalizer against said Falcon. He's going to need that command. This is a very solidified site here. It's going to be hard for dark side to for light side to deal with. You've got Kylo with a lightsaber adding here, draining for 3. Plus you're doing 1 ping from the blaster. Um, the blaster fired by a trooper shoots at +2 at a character or vehicle. Um, so any ground speeders or ground characters are probably not going to be too challenging to hit, and uh, it does sort of limit them. They can't quite flip just yet. They have to get their other site out first, because you have to occupy 2 battleground sites. I mean, they could just put it both guys at each site here, but then you run the risk of getting barriered and getting stuck. Um, Although you do see Darkseid has put about half their good characters altogether. They do still have plenty more, and he's going to probably draw a few cards here as well. Yeah. Now he's getting down to, these are the cards that he left last turn. Um, so he shouldn't remember what those are, because he would have seen them when he force pushed, and then when he checked his reserve deck, he could have done the reverse math. I mean, like, all right, what was still in there and what wasn't. Actually, he ended up just drawing last turn, so he should know what these bottom 4 cards are, because he should know what they cards were that he didn't draw. So there's the dash speeder. Again, not the most. Oh, so he's going to do some. All right, so he's going to try and flip here, and he's going to do it. It's a bit risky the way that Zlorfik is doing this. So in order for him to flip, he has to control the system and occupy 2 battleground sites, which he did. He deployed the speeder, which can't get barriered, so that's safe. He deployed the Corvette to the system to do that. Now what we expect to see him here is Radis will get out, Radis will shuttle up, possibly take Poe with him, and then you'll see Dash move to the Falcon. At least that's how I would expect it to see. That flips into a vehicle mode. Yeah, some guys are going to get off. He's just taking Poe. Yeah, looks like he's just taking Poe. All right, no, there goes Radis. Is Radis moving into the speeder, or? Nah, Radis is going to move up too. Okay. That's what I would have expected to see. Um, because, again, you know your opponent has the finalizer because he's already pulled it with Bow. So you can't just leave this in space too flimsy. Otherwise, you're going to get cleared out of it, and the objective's going to flip back if you don't occupy 2 battlegrounds. It also helps to, I mean, you only have 1 resistance character on the table right now, so you can only use this subtract text where you have resistance guys. So Zlorfik stretched a little thin here, but he wanted to make sure he got himself in a position where he could reduce the drain and flip his objective, which he did. So he'll do the 1 ping from You'll Be Dead for having the blaster. He loses the perimeter scan. He's going to pass on the force draining, because I guess he assumes it's just going to get reduced, so he'd be paying 3 to drain for 1. And that makes sense. And we are going to get some guys with some, at least a gun. And the trooper is going to come down probably just more for forfeit in case he draws low, because the trooper doesn't do a whole lot. The trooper only reduces the defense value on characters, so he's really just probably a little forfeit fodder, in case he draws low, like I said. Although both these guys are immune to less than 4. So the trooper's not really providing a whole lot, because anything he drew that was 4 or above, you wouldn't lose the trooper anyway. And he doesn't have a gun. I mean, he could trooper assault to add 2 more power, but I don't think that's going to help him get him very far. So P59 is good because he's got the gun that can shoot at vehicles, +1 greater than defense value. Both speeders are maneuver 5. I believe Lando only adds when piloting a freighter. I don't think Oh, the vehicle is considered a freighter still, so this is actually going to be maneuver 6. So probably not hitting that. So he's probably going to have to shoot at dash here. And that would just be, he would need a 5 to hit that. Not the easiest thing to do. Alright, he is going to trooper assault just to get the extra 2 power. Possibly trying to bait his opponent into the grabber. And he is going to shoot at the Falcon, which, if my math is right, I don't know that he can easily hit. So that may have been a mini mistake there. Not that it mattered, because he would have missed them both anyway. He does play the command to add the second destiny on the ground, and that does get grabbed. And he's really just trying to get more than 7 here. And he does. He gets 8. So that's pretty solid, because that's going to get rid of Lando and the speeder. And his opponent draws an untimely 1, which, as you mentioned before, everybody's immune to. The trooper's immune from the trooper assault, otherwise he just would lose the trooper here. Phasma's text is what you just saw trigger there, which basically says every time you win a battle, you can retrieve a trooper, but he hasn't lost anybody yet. So now we get, oh, that could have been the other reason too. Now we get both the other reason for putting the trooper out, so we can flip the objective. Because you have to control 2 battlegrounds with first order characters, so he puts the trooper out. He easily could have just moved one of these troopers, like moved Bataka over, and that would have flipped him as well after the battle had ended. So, and he will stack a card. He'll stack Force Push, which you can't use again because it's a once per game card. But it does make Kylo power +1, so you might as well stack it, right? Unless you think you're going to be retrieving cards with like firepower or something. And there goes Rey into the Falcon. And she'll go pick up at least 1 card. She gets the card from used. We'll see if she draws a card as well. Nope, there goes Rose. Now he occupies the ground sites again. He also put Rose out, who is the resistance agent. And she is going to get the barrier here. The barrier isn't because he wants to prevent her from battling, because we know Rose isn't going to battle this pile of guys here. It's to keep her from moving away. You know, you deploy her here, flip, and then she would move over, or she would shuttle up or something. Probably not shuttle up, but certainly would consider moving over to where there's a little bit less power and fewer weapons to deal with. We're likely to see Rey move the Falcon over now, but oh, Captain Cassian. Yep, and there goes the Falcon to join them. And he pulls weapons display, even though he doesn't have anything that it would really trigger or do right now. And alright, so he pulls the shuttle just because he can. Certainly don't think we'll see that being used anytime soon. But here we got our first sniper. So, sniper lets you fire during your control phase. 1 of your weapons hit targets are immediately lost. So, and Cassian here, once per game, place a character in your lost pile out of play to cancel a just drawn weapon or battle destiny here. So can still cancel the weapon destiny even outside of battle, which is going to make, I mean, yes, it makes him, you burn the sniper to make him burn his once per game. because the other reduction part from the objective is only once per battle. So if you shoot outside of the control phase, you kind of have to, uh, casting would be the only way to reduce it. I would probably use, you've got two options here. You can use Kylo's lightsaber, or you can use the First Order blaster rifle. In this case, with Cassian being able to cancel the Destiny, you have to use Kylo, and you're probably swinging at Cassian, just to get rid of him, so that he can't cancel future Destinies later on this turn. I sounded like KGB? Okay. So he draws a 5. Cassian's going to use his text. He's going to put Lando out of play. And he draws the second Destiny, which was only a 2. And Zlorfik plays They're tracking us to subtract 1, which he didn't need to. That was actually a mini mistake on his part. Hux isn't on the table, so those guys are only, FN was only Destiny 2. Usually those guys are Destiny 3 or 4 because, the troopers and stuff like that are usually +1. But Cassian wasn't going to be hit, so he kind of burned They're tracking us when he didn't need to. So minor mistake there by the world champion, unless he intentionally wanted to put that card back out of his hand. Can't imagine why he would, though. Oh, I take that back. I take that all back. The trooper made him defense value -1. Characters, I was talking about it earlier, went right by it. No minor mistake there. My apologies. The trooper made Cassian defense value -1, so he was only a 1, so therefore the 2 hit him, and he needed They're tracking us to keep Cassian alive. Sorry about that. Okay. Now we get a big old battle. We've got the shuttle. It's going to add a Destiny to power because it's with Kylo. Cassian's already burned his once per game, so now we got plenty of weapon shots. Finn's going to come down as a react to add some extra power. He went outside as opposed to being inside. He adds 1 more power out there, but he could also get hit and not be able to satisfy attrition out there, as we'll probably see Phasma shoot him. He's got the highest forfeit. She could also take a shot at the Falcon. It's maneuver 5. Rey doesn't add anything to maneuver, so he could take a shot at the Falcon. Obviously, if he drew well, he would just subtract 2 with the objective. So you kind of want to pick off some of the low-hanging fruit if you can, and clear out as much stuff as possible. Yep, thanks, Wayne. I realized that myself, that I got ahead of myself there. So, good job, chat, keeping me honest as well. So we got the Destiny to power with the shuttle, which was just a 2. He drew... Interesting. Okay, so he draws the blast points, which was a 5. It gets subtracted by the objective to a 3, and then he's going to close call it himself to redraw it. He still gets a second Battle Destiny here. I don't know how confident he is that the cards in his reserve deck are higher than 3. 3's not bad for a first draw. Rose doesn't cover her forfeit, so Rey's probably likely to go. These guys are both hit. Cassian's forfeit 0. Finn can't be used to satisfy attrition because that's what the Stormtrooper gun says. May not be used to satisfy attrition. So I don't know that he needed the close call there to redraw the 3, which he redraws into a 3. So, and then his second Battle Destiny is a 4. So he ends up with a total of 7 instead of 6. So I don't know that the close call really helped him all that much there. Ooh, and bad luck again for Zlorfik. Second time drawing a character for a key battle destiny here. We'll see Kiwi's just going to pitch a trooper. Kylo's going to win him the battle, make him peel 2. There's no troopers for Phasma to retrieve yet. Winners and losers happen during the power segment, which is before you start forfeiting stuff. Oh my goodness. Did we actually get to see the other text on Rose being used? If Finn is about to be lost from same site, may place him in your used pile instead. Very rare text that we don't often get to see, but in this situation, just like in the movies, Rose stepping in to protect Finn and keep him alive. But he does still have 7 attrition to deal with, which is going to be Rey. So he still gets to maintain the site, though. So he keeps the objective flipped because his resistance agent, Rose, is there. And then you've got, he still has space, so he still stays flipped on the 7 side of his objective as well. Good one, Dorsch. Burn. Oh, he gets drained for 2 and loses Hux, so he has to peel 2 off the top. For the drain at the system, throws away the extra Mitaka that he doesn't need. Leia's going to go kamikaze. She's going to use her wonderful game text, which says... Sorry, pause. I thought I hit that. So, if you just initiate a battle with a resistance character, retrieve a force. 2, if you're initiating against a first order character. Initiating against a first order character, she get to retrieve 2. So Leia got back Cassian and Wedge. Not bad to get 2 characters back. Of course, I'm sure he'll end up drawing them for Battle Destiny, but hey. But down 10 power right now. Not looking like the best battle, especially P-59 is unlikely to hit her, especially with the ability to subtract 2, but still down some power here, and not sure exactly what this will accomplish for him in the long run. Unless he really thinks he needed Wedge back. So Leia was only defense value 4 because of the trooper, so the 4 hits. Oh, and there's a leadership to add a second destiny. Okay, so getting a little better for light side here, because now they'll get 2 destiny. But he still has to draw better than 7 with those 2 destiny. Otherwise, Grievous is going to live. Yeah, so he gets exactly 7, which will just take Grievous out, and they'll still keep P-59 and the Trooper around. And Darkseid draws a 5, which cracks Leia's immunity, and since they already had to use their subtract 2, Leia's going to end up dying. Not that she wouldn't have anyway. Oh, Phasma does get to retrieve a trooper, but aim high is out, and he doesn't have any force left. So, no retrieval for Brandon. And Rose is going to take the Falcon and get out of dodge, which flips both objectives not simultaneously, because there are no simultaneous actions in Star Wars. Uh, the player whose turn it is gets to choose which action happens first when there's competing automatic actions. So one objective flipped, and then the other objective flipped. Now he'll get to stack a card. He gets to stack the barrier, so that's good to have access to that. Space is pretty well locked down here. Yep, there's the It's a Hit. I was going to say, I would expect to see him drain here, but there's a pretty good chance that we're either going to see an It's a Hit or it could be worse to reduce it. And he does play the It's a Hit, and since the leadership's already been grabbed, no recourse there. There's also the reason sometimes you'll see Darkside playing 2 grabbers, because Lightside has a lot of annoying interrupts between Rebel leadership, It's a Hit, it could be worse. I don't know, things like out of commission, or they're tracking us, or that other I'm getting kind of good at this, or I can take care of myself. That's the one that makes all your females uh, better, or add to their force drains, or cancel weapon destinies targeting them. There's a number of annoying interrupts in especially old allies that and with Solo's ability to play stuff out of the lost pile too. Just when you think you're safe, and you made him top deck something like a punch it doesn't always work out quite the way you need it to. Very clever site deployment layout here. The only sites on Jakku that have any type of layout restrictions are the shipyard and the Ray's encampment. Those 2 sites, by rule, cannot be separated from one another. It used to make the matchup a lot more lopsided, because turn 1 map would just pull a site or something and stick it between them. And then they were kind of screwed, and they couldn't... well, actually, there really aren't any other sites for them to get, but... I don't know. There was something issue with the way the sites, with separating these 2 sites. So they changed that by rule. These 2 sites have to be together, but everything else can go wherever. So sticking the 2-2 all the way over here would mean that Darkside either has to shuttle up and then shuttle down, or they've got to walk through the non-battleground to get all the way over here to Anakin, which will certainly take them a couple of turns to do, and it limits their damage in between. So very smart move there, knowing about the site layout restrictions, that only these 2 here, and that this could go anywhere over here if you wanted it, getting it as far away from everybody else as possible. Oh, let's see what we got going on here. Light side objective would put down hut and shipyard. Now it doesn't start the hut, so that didn't quite work. Yeah. Yeah, I know that there was some reason that they made a rule that he's going to be separated, and I felt like it was this matchup, but maybe not. Maybe it was people playing other matchups against this deck or something. I don't remember. I don't know. There was a reason that that rule was changed. I'm old. I forget stuff now. So, Zlorfik running with a thin hand still. He sends Chewie back and gets another copy of Rey. He lands the Falcon, so he can flip his objective one more time. Rose gets out, which then flips the map objective back. Then he shuttles Rose right back up, flipping map right back to the 7 side, because Rose is not at a battleground site. But he did get his Falcon back down onto the ground, so I guess he can deploy Rey and someone into it next turn. Maybe Rey and Solo could deploy to it next turn, and it looks like it's... Which mode is it in? It's in vehicle mode, so he's just setting things up for next turn. I wonder. Uh, Immune to trample and unsalvageable, even if unpiloted. It might almost be worth using the sniper and firing the gun and shooting the falcon just so we can't deploy anybody into it. So he'll cause 2 force loss with You'll Be Dead. He's going to fire P-59 at the falcon. And that's going to hit it. I think you only lose 2 when you hit characters, though, right? Nope. It's anywhere. Okay, so yeah, so that should cause 2 force loss. The falcon's placed out of play when it leaves the table, so there you go. Use the sniper, pick off the falcon. Awesome. Well played. And he causes 2 force loss in the process, so there goes a rebel flight suit and a rose. He played the sniper from hand, though. I might have preferred to see him play the one that was stacked. Don't see any reason why that wouldn't have worked. And now he can go ground heavy again. He sends Snoke. Snoke pulls a trooper, and then he deploys the trooper with Snoke. Oh, this is ground Thrawn, not space Thrawn. So my early analysis of Finalizer Thrawn really wouldn't have worked because that's the virtual version. Ground Thrawn here, he can be targeted as a general. Functions as a general in game text of Admiral's orders is suspended. So you can play the Imperial command, treat him as a general to add a battle destiny when on the ground, which is pretty clever. Yeah, thanks, guys. I knew there was a reason for how it laid out that it screwed this matchup up, so they fixed that to make it more competitive. I just didn't remember the specifics of it. So yeah, so Thrawn's going to add, he's going to stack his second command. He's probably only playing 3, so it looks like space is going to be a lot harder to contest if he contests it at all at this point. Not that he overly needs to. He's right now. If you can keep him off the ground and keep these 3 sites covered, he can just keep paying a drain and cause the blaster ping damage, and that should pull him ahead. Gonna try and beat up baby Anakin here. We'll call this one toddler Anakin because he's almost grown up. And we'll see a couple of decent destiny draws. And because dark side is flipped, light side would have to pay 1 for their battle destiny because they're now with a first order leader. Snoke being a leader, so he's got to pay 1 to draw. That comes in handy when things like Jedi Lev, when you want to redraw a character, now you don't have any force left, so even if you play the Jedi Lev and then screw yourself. And he draws low again. Phasma gets to retrieve a trooper. He does still have the 1 in there. And now he'll lose the trooper and put another 1 in there. So this helps again to keep cycling life force through. Certainly makes map a very strong deck when it can keep stacking interrupts and staying on the flip side and winning battles. When things go well for map, things really go well. That can be said for a lot of decks too. That some decks just when they start getting momentum, they can just start steamrolling you. It can be the opposite too. Old allies can do the same thing. When things start going well for old allies, it can really start running away with the game pretty quick. Now we're going to see Chewie, and he's going to spend the force and play the barrier that he had stacked. With 9 force left, that's a pretty safe play. Stopping the guy with the gun who might have some other tricks up his sleeve. Chewie wasn't doing anything by himself. But he will deploy Rey. Whoa. If you just deployed a scavenger here, may retrieve a device, droid, or weapon. Rey is a scavenger. Look at that. So by deploying Rey to this site, which again almost never happens, so we never get to see that game text, he had the ability to retrieve a device, droid, or weapon. He did lose his Rebel flight suit earlier, which he could have gotten back, but the map objective is flipped, so it says unless BB-8 on table, opponent's force retrieval is canceled. So if they wanted to do that, Rose is his resistance agent. He would need Rose on the table first. How do you use the choices? Oh, to pick your packs? We'll get to that in a minute. I'll show you how to do it. I'm sure I have some saved up that I probably haven't used. When this game's over, we'll certainly go into the GEMP merchant and whatnot and show how to choose your packs. It's not in the merchant. It's in the deck builder, I believe, in like the My Cards option. Well, Rey's going to battle anyway. She's immune to less than 6. There's the Jedi Lev that we speculated he might have had before. Now he actually does have the Force available to pay to redraw it. Rey battling here. Oh, gets a good, much better destiny. Best case scenario is she clears Thrawn. Worst case scenario is she clears Thrawn. Ends up drawing much better, slightly outpowered just by 1. But she's immune, so she gets rid of a guy. Darkseid does have to lose Thrawn here. So Snoke's kind of by himself, and Darkseid has a pretty thin hand, so that's why at least that makes reasonable sense. Rose was up in space, so she'll shuttle back down now, flip the objective back to the 0 side. But the map the Old Allies is still also on its 0 side. So again, we're going to get this continual 2-ping from the blaster weapons. And he is going to pay to drain on the ground again. See if he's got the It's a Hit back. He does not. So now he's got to lose 3 cards. And when you see him peeling cards for that, I would force drain at the other site as well. Yep, just keep piling on the damage while you can. Make him peel 2 more here. Two, 3, 4, 4. Not going to get it done in the reserve deck with Mr. Snoke. But wait, here comes Kylo. Because Mitaka says, during your deploy phase, you use 3 Force to relocate Kylo from here to same site as a resistance character. So Kylo gets to bounce anywhere in the universe where there is a resistance character, as long as Kylo and Mitaka were together to start with. So Kylo can bounce all the way over here. We saw those destinies. He had 2, 3, 4, 4 in there. That would hit any character he wanted to swing at. Unless, of course, he had a handy interrupt like I can take care of myself, or I can handle myself, whatever that card is, which would protect the female characters by canceling a destiny. So he's going to bounce Kylo over to give Snoke a little backup. And he's going to throw PV down just for some forfeit fodder and a little extra power. Okay. I think at this point in time, he's conceded going to space if he's putting PV on the ground. And I don't know necessarily how I feel about that move. I think this whole line here might have gone a little off the rails. So bouncing Kylo over and battling against a fairly superior force when Kylo's likely to also get shot is going to be tricky and problematic. And I think this goes back to an earlier mistake when he had the sniper in hand and he had the one stacked. He played the one from hand, and I think he should have played the one that was stacked. Because if he had a sniper available to him now, he'd be in a much better position, and Kylo could hit Chewie and then immediately take him out of the battle. And then it's just Rey and Rose sitting there. And I think that's the little mistake right there that happened 4 turns ago that's now showing up because Rose is on the ground, he's flipped back to the 0 side, and that sniper is still sitting there on the stack. This is the sniper, right? Yeah. So he doesn't have access to it. If he had played this one earlier, he'd still have a sniper in hand, and I think he this play would make a lot more sense. Clear a guy, overwhelm the other two 12-5. Um, you know, Rose probably ends up dying. That then flips your objective again, and Kylo wins the battle, causes 2 more force loss. But now what we're looking at here is you're basically even because you're up 1 power, but Rey adds 1 to the total. So you're practically even here in Destiny draw. So just going down to who draws higher. And that's why this doesn't quite look as good as it probably should have. So that would be my take on that. And then Finn as a react makes it even worse. And there's the I can take care of myself to cancel the weapon destiny because he swung. He swung for Rey. And that's going to miss Rey because of the I can take care of myself. Might have been worth a swing at Rose to hit Rose, take her off the table because, again, Rose is the resistance agent. Oh, and he uses the I will finish what you started to stack the interrupt from hand, which is the other game text that people don't often remember. Once per turn, stack an interrupt from hand, face up here to cancel a just drawn weapon destiny at Kylo's site. So he drew the 5, he cancels it, and then crossed his fingers and hoped that he drew low, and he drew wedge, so PV does not get hit and gets to maintain his forfeit. But yeah, just think of how differently this battle goes if during the control phase he could have. Well, when does he move? Is it deploy phase? During deploy phase, yeah. So, all right. So he swings at Chewie, hits Chewie, bounces him out of the battle, and ends up having more power and wins and causes 2 force loss. Now instead, he loses the battle, has to peel 2 cards of his own, and has to worry about a counter beat here. Because Finn's probably going to go, right? Yep, Finn's going to go used. Rose is going to cycle him back. And now it's Kylo and Snoke staring in the face of what's actually a slightly better position with Rey, Chewie, and Rose. And because Rose is still on the ground, the objective is still flipped. That might have been the other reason to get rid of Rose. Flip the objective again. And make them have to pay for their battle destinies and stuff. Or redeploy another copy of Rose, but at least stop her from retrieving as well. So yeah, there's minor gameplay consequence there. With Rose being the resistance agent, get her off the table. take your swings at her while you can. I know she's an easy target. I know she's low forfeit, and she doesn't really, you know, take a whole lot out of play. But swing at Rose, swing at Chewy, get those guys out of there. Because again, Ray is harder to hit, plus with the stupid interrupt that you have to remember that Old Allies does play. And you also haven't seen it yet. He's got very few cards left. You know, Zlorfik's down to 15 cards, and you haven't seen him play it at all yet. So that's probably a card he's been holding on to for a while. You know, against a less experienced player, you might think, okay, maybe he just doesn't have it. Maybe he hasn't found it yet. Against a world championship player, assume he has it and he's just holding it for the right time to play it. Oh, because he activated so many, he did not have enough left to swing. So I guess he just activated right down to the 5 rather than having Chewy shoot and run the risk of Kylo just canceling the Destiny from hand anyway. He just decided he would just draw a 6 for Battle Destiny and probably just win the battle, and then use Calfal's text to reduce the Destiny to 0. So again, Darkseid loses another battle, and Kylo loses 2 more to his own game text. Uh, this is where that Spectre of a Supreme Leader card really comes in handy, so you don't lose to your own Kylo. I know a lot of people seem to keep taking that card out because they don't use the other part of it, which is, you know, retrieving Kylo when he leaves the table or taking him or the lightsaber into hand. But the not losing force to your own card, that's five or six force he's lost between 2 battles and a couple of lightsaber swings that that he's lost here. And that can certainly make the difference in a very tight game. And we'll still see the pings again. The blaster ping is what's certainly keeping the game close. Oh, there goes the Destiny 7 card, and he's going to put that back, pop Walkling immediately to put that 7 in a position where he can track it, and track it he will, and draw that for Battle Destiny at some point. And now he just caused a 2 force loss, and he doesn't drain here either. Zlorfik did draw a couple cards last turn. How many did he draw? He drew 5, and the 2 cards he pitched were both from hand. I'm just trying to think at this point in time what you would want to do here. If it would be worth paying to drain. It's a drain of 2. It's not going to get reduced. It could get, it's a hit though, because that, I'm sure, is what he's thinking about. What are you going to spend the force on this turn? You've got 9. If you deployed Kylo for 5, this guy would be for free. You would have to deploy him for 1, and then you would need 1 force remaining, so you need a total of 7. So you can't pay to drain if you're planning on doing all that. The other option would be you pay to drain in both spots. It's a hits 1, he loses 2 more to the other, and that just leaves you with 3 force remaining, which would still be enough to just drop the 2 troopers and pass. Don't battle him, just kind of sit in front of him, which might not be a bad way to go. You're slightly outpowered, but you'd be able to use FN's game text cancel game text and may not fire weapons. There's nobody there with the weapon, but you could always just cancel Calfal's game text. So that way at least you get Battle Destiny. Um, and then worry about, you know, Kylo a turn later. That might not have been a bad way to go. Drain, drain, troopers. He's going to go for the bigger play. I would not battle here. He causes 1 force loss with Snoke, but here comes Finn right back as a react. Yeah. Uh, yeah, he continues to battle into the react. And Rose just keeps forfeiting Finn to the use pile, which is all she's going to do again here. So as long as he's going to just keep looping the stuff around like that, there's no point in initiating battles against him. You'll cause minor little bits of force loss here from Kylo, at least this turn. But there's the 5, which you'll lose both troopers. He'll just send Finn used. He'll lose 2 cards, probably from hand, or possibly just play it could be worse or whatever. No, he's going to top deck 2 cards. Okay. And he is going to retrieve that last trooper. And these guys do both cover the 3, so he can lose both troopers. But now we're right back where we started the turn before. Finn just goes used. Didn't really get too far ahead here. And he knows where the 7 is. Because he paid 1 to retrieve it with Wackling, so there's the 7. He'll just continue to keep the space drains on. That's the 3rd card Rose has retrieved now, because he didn't swing at her and take her off the table. And now things get worse. Because this stupid objective doesn't say occupy with resistance characters the way the dark side one says occupy with first order characters. It just says occupy 2 Jakku battleground sites. This should probably say with resistance. That might make this objective a little more palatable. I know when it first came out there weren't a lot of resistance characters, but we're 3 or 4 more sets in now and we've added quite a few. So if they always talk about what little changes and tweaks and things to adjust old allies to. Maybe just make the flip condition a little harder. So you can't play as many useful utility rebels and speeders and things like that and just flip stuff. You actually have to use more resistance-oriented cards to do it. So Wedge comes down here. Wedge is just going to get shuttled up or whatever and move over. Zlorfik has been tracking his hand all game. He knows this is the finalizer. So Wedge is safe to just move over because he's not going to get battled. It's very unlikely. And since he tracked around to the 7, he knows he's going to draw the 7. It's going to be greater than his destiny draw, which is then going to cancel it. 7 is going to give him 13. Rey's going to add 1, make it an 8, so it'll be 14 to 11. So he's going to win the battle and cause 2 more force loss to Kylo. So this has turned into a losing proposition where he's now lost 3 battles and 6 force from his own Kylo, fighting over this stupid graveyard site. And it's all because of KFC. To be fair to your comment, Dorsch, I don't think the finalizer would have lasted very long in space. He would have had that one decent battle with the guys in the command, and then it probably would have gotten blown out within 1 or 2 turns. With dark side, with light side having multiple ways of adding battle destinies in space, um, between Poe and Solo and Punch It and all that stuff, um, that finalizer would not have lasted very long. And leadership to limit, with Radis being there most of the game, I think it would have been a very expensive turn where he would have paid a whole lot to put a lot of cards on the table, and then 2 turns later they'd all been dead. Or he'd have an empty finalizer sitting over here with no pilots on it, praying his opponent doesn't run Tantive. Yeah, so he just spends the turn, pays the drain. Never getting Hux out is also a problem, because obviously then having strategic earlier, um, and again that may all come back to that first turn force push, because if he had saved the force push for something better, he might have gotten strategic into play and then actually canceled a drain or two along the way, which could certainly have also made a difference. But at this point in time, unlikely he's got any troopers really left, so he's going to peel 2 and 2. Zlorfik's got 9 cards left. And if he knows where the It's a Hit is, he can retrieve one with Rose. That's the 4th or 5th card she's gotten now. Move Wedge away, draw back to the It's a Hit. Oh, he retrieved the It's a Hit. Oh, never mind. And now I'll just throw somebody else somewhere else to get an extra little drain in to speed things up. And it's 9 to 5. With only 5 cards left, he can't afford to pay to drain in both spots. So all he can do is cause his 2 force loss, which gets reduced now that he's flipped again. So he gets 1 and then 2 more damage there. And then Kylo can best move over in front of them, but he's just going to end up getting smacked in the face for doing it. His other option would be to put people on the shuttle and take off and block the drain at the system, but that's kind of just, going to be more of the same, as they're just going to get battled and beat up. So certainly a very close game. A couple of tiny little mental things that could have been tightened up. To recap, the force push early for the system, probably not the best use of your once per game forced push, and even just playing the sniper that was stacked, not the one from hand, certainly would have changed the dynamic of a few battles. Also swinging at Rose, who was the resistance agent, to get her off the table. If you're ever unsure of who the resistance agent is, you can just click on the objective too. It'll bring up a little box of like extra text and info, which doesn't do in the replay, and it will say extra text, resistance agent Rose, resistance agent Luke, whoever it happens to be. Yep. Loses Kylo. Calfal causes the destiny to be 0 again, and Kylo loses another battle. And then no destiny left to battle in space. He's going to win next turn just from either of these drains, but he will take at least 2 more damage from the pings and cut it to 5. Oh, actually does get the force drain now. Haha, because the shuttle took off and it's for free. So he'll drain for 2 and 2, taking him all the way down to 1. And coming up just 1 card short. Very close game, very well played. Like we said, yeah, killing Rose at any point would have stopped. How many cards did Rose retrieve? I think 4. Um, so if she had retrieved 1 less, even if everything else played out exactly the same, then this game's a win for Thekillerkiwi and not for Zlorfik. So, Brandon, you asked me for a few tips and advices. Hopefully, I've given you about 40 minutes worth of them. But thank you, both players, for submitting this game link. It was good to go through and analyze a lot of the other secondary texts actually triggering the things that we don't normally see. How often people deploy a scavenger to this site to retrieve something, or kind of little text like that. So certainly a well-played OCS match. And speaking of OCS matches, I promised earlier I had another little spoiler for you, another card to show off. The March OCS foil was just received today. It is the Droidica. So that's certainly a card that has some uses and may want to play multiples of. So for those of you who got your 12 games in March, you'll get 2 copies of this. If you played 8 games, you will get 1. You may have to trade for your friends if you want extras. All right, but there's our weekly review. Let's take a quick peek in the old GEMP lobby. Looks like some people just playing some fun games. No competitive matchups. How are the standings looking? We got Mr. Shaw here, 11 and 1 with a 50% win percentage. That's probably going to hold up. There's a few other people. Pistone 7 and 1. Batmouse is 7 and 3. He's not going to get there. 7 and 0. And you got a couple other guys down here who still have quite a few games left to play if they wanted to make a run. But to have 2 people end up ahead of him to push him down to 3rd does not look likely, so that's probably going to hold up. Tom's the one who's probably going to be sweating. All-Stars right here with the 61% win percentage. If he wins his last game, would go to 32, and that would leapfrog him into 2nd. And then everybody else would have to get 11 wins to push All-Stars out, because I don't see anybody getting 10 wins with a 60+% win percentage. Looking at where everybody else. Well, maybe, no, because Eric's 6 and 3, so he couldn't get there. So they would need 11 wins, which a couple people could still get. And just for any of you guys who were play laser cannon battery. Yeah, it's not a bad card for the finalizer and stuff to pick off some of the lower ships. But again, with them subtracting 2 from stuff, it isn't the easiest to hit. I did mention that I was going to show anybody who was curious. If you go into the deck builder, and then this my cards, and then you change this to packs and boxes, and then you can see if you play in leagues, any of the leagues, the OCS leagues, the open leagues, the sealed deck leagues, depending on where you finish, you get packs for prizes. So in addition to the foils that you get for each odd number of wins, the 1st win, 3rd win, 5th win, that you get a random foil card for, at the end of the league, you do get packs. And then depending on where you finish, there's 2 different tiers. There's the regular choice, which is this, which is all of the regular expansions. And then if you finish really high in the tournament, you get a second choice pack, which is just Reflections 1, 2, and 3 that you can pick from. I will pick Death Star 2. Yay, I got a pack. Let's open it. What's in it? Jedi Luke. No. Oh, Rebel Leadership. Okay. That'd be nice if it was a real pack. But now I can add that to my cards. And then the whole point of the My Cards feature is if you go back, if you have cards, you go to the merchant up here, and then you can look at owned. Like if you have more than 4 of something, you can trade them for a foil copy. It costs you a bunch of gold to do it. Like if I wanted a foil battle order or something like that, I could trade it. I could trade for a foil or a sing because I have enough of these cards. Typically, what most people do is you foil up cards that you know you're going to use very often. That way you can put them on the table and show off all your shiny cards to your friends. Like this would be a good one to enter strength because if you're playing combat, you're going to start this, it's going to be on the table, and it's going to be nice to have a little shiny version of it. I feel the conflict would be good for Hitco or things like that. Defensive shields are usually good because those get played pretty often. Objectives, also cool to have shiny objectives. But that's how you would do it. You would just do that, and you could trade 4 copies. Like if I wanted to make a foil objective, it would say trade 4 for a foil. It was like, do you want to trade 4 copies and 15 gold? No, because I don't plan on playing Dark Side Combat anytime soon. You get 5 gold a week as your allowance, but you need gold to enter leagues. So you went to leagues, and I wanted to join, say, this Open 2 series that Batmouse just created that starts tomorrow. I could pay 5 gold and join the league. So that's how that all works and how the foils and prizes and all that stuff go. But that will wrap up this week's show. Thank you all very much for tuning in. I will remind everybody to renew your Twitch Prime subscriptions while you're here. If you haven't already for the month, or if you're getting close to, if you have Amazon Prime, of course, you get a free Twitch subscription each month, and we appreciate your support and giving it to us. Just click that little subscribe button. You can also just click the follow button. Followers are also appreciated, so that way you get notifications when we go live with shows and streamings, just to give you updates so you know when to tune in. And then when you eventually subscribe for a number of months, you do get some foil slips for that as well. The first foil is the Grand Inquisitor for the 3-month consecutive subscription tier. Subscribe for 3 consecutive months, you get the Grand Inquisitor. If you make it to 6 consecutive months, you get Ezra. And there's one for 12 months as well. I don't remember who that is because we haven't gotten anywhere near that yet, but it is all in the announcement section. But thank you guys for tuning in. I will be back next week. It'll be middle of the week again sometime. Mondays are not going to work for me for the next 6 weeks until Game of Thrones is over, because some other people are unable to watch on Sunday nights, and I don't have HBO, so I'm borrowing somebody else's. So I usually watch on Mondays anyway. So we decided to all get together, have a little dinner party every Monday, and watch Game of Thrones together to watch the final 6 episodes of the series. We'll be back on Mondays probably in June or July, but stay tuned. I'll figure out if it might just rotate depending on what other nights work best for me during the week. But have a great night, take care, and thanks for watching.